school outreach policy. Noted. And so we're really fortunate to have him give a little presentation on some of the work he does. He's a dancer, director, painter, and all around amazing artist. So please welcome Mr. Moja.
Thank you, everybody, for coming here in this room. So it's a very good opportunity for me to come here again and bring some projects, especially this time, my visit for outreach programs. So we've been doing to public school, private schools. So far we have 3 visits, right? And then 1 more to go in tomorrow. So it's been great to show the art form that I know, especially like shadow puppet, and then how we do show to the student to make simplifies the shadow puppet and what medium we use. Like traditional puppet in Bali is so complex in using buffalo skin and the cards are complex, but bring this to the puppet to the school here and try to work on simplify it, but the student or the kids really interactive how to acting, how to work the puppet. So yeah, so my background is a painter and dancer. So in last 20 some years, I've been focused with shadow puppet theater, working in San Francisco. In last 10 years, right? So I've been working with UH. So we do some small production and big productions too. So with this meeting, so I try to share some experience, what's behind the scene from the shadow puppet, and also in my art form as well. For example, like paintings, how the paintings, my style. So later we're gonna share it on the screen. It's about paintings, about the shadow puppet, and then as well. So everybody can help me. Sometimes we get
Yes. Talk about that.
Yeah, this is the classroom of this program. So the one we see in the left side, so we try to imitate their Balinese dance. And also here we have some free shadow puppets to try to combine and work together. How sometimes interactive between shadow puppet in the actor. For example, here the kids try to dance Balinese dance. So this has been that one's also trying to demonstration some old man dance class. This one from Anna from Mali, the last year. It's last year? No.
Earlier this year.
Only this year, yeah, April. So we do some community center. So everyone, 6 months old baby is there. They're holding the small children. So it will combine. Sometimes the parents really active how to make a puppet. Which is the medium we use like cardboard. The medium with the set of puppet, and in this situation, this is sometimes you can use very simple medium. Sometimes cereal box, you just cut it and become set of puppet. Yeah, this is the last performance also for this Center Festival is done here. Now I try to talk about the paintings because from the paintings, this is the process of paintings. Basically, I sketch them first, and then I make shadow here, which is black and white using Chinese paint or Indian paint. And then after that, we just add a color. On this painting, I use with the medium is canvas, and then the paint is acrylic.
I'm trying to, it's stuck on.
So yeah, it's like I said, like after the colorings and then put some highlight. And for this painting, took me I think about a month, because it's a lot of detail. And sometimes couple years to kind of decide the paintings. Even one day small painting can be under. Yeah, this is the process of sketching. And sometimes I use most of the time I use a pen pens. This is easy for me to control and just sharpen with a knife, to sketch. And sometimes I use the ballpoint, the type of ballpoint and waterproof repeated graph. And on the canvas I use a bamboo because this is last forever. But if I use repeated graph pens, then I just rinse it with because the canvas so well. Yeah, but yeah, for this one, it's this small painting. I think maybe take me 2 3 days. This one, and this one is really huge, and about 6 feet. This one, and maybe 8 months, maybe 1 year. I don't remember. So sometimes I just make a different type of objects. This is what San Francisco City. And things on canvas. It's in here look really dark, not thing because the way the actually it's more about pinks colors. And I make some painting like this if somebody commissions and not my desire, but I'm happy doing this, because like how to make some interesting balance or composition with the Balinese style. It's in the modern scenery. So yeah, this is the for the shadow puppet, the last lesson we have, and that's how I make the scenery. And the scenery basically where I do it, I have to use the light. What happened is if I just paint it and then I project to the screen, so it looks different. And also by checking that this, yeah, the light's coming from in this case from my in the left side, and then I painting on the Malar like this. This so using Indian eggs, waterproof Indian eggs. And if I make mistakes, it's kind of easy to walk, take it out. Sometimes I use alcohol, sometimes just use water. But the scenery, so we're gonna talk more with later about the composition. And also this is the rehearsal in the yeah, you can get the other ones. Yeah, this is from the France, from the artist here. It's during the rehearsal.
And now it's starting.
Yeah, so this is a beginning of the show. So if you see the background basically just we cast the shadow. You see the color like this plastic in the back, and then also we have a light in the front and the dancer. And then during this, when she dancing here, sometimes we change the background. And changing background, so use light source, like this. You turn one light and bring the other one, just keep on back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes you just like with the travel scene, like one scene to the scene. So the person who control the light to make sure when, try to find the timing between the music and dance. It's kind of like live films, like live films. So when what's in like plastic film. Yeah, this is during the class. So basically from this form and
That's really rude. I just feel under that
from this form and how we try to make the really productions.
The monkeys that are here.
So here we introduce how to use the puppet.
The bears, but okay, I don't know what the bears are. The bears are coming. That's really rude. I just feel under.
It's totally improvised to try to understanding how to communicate. And here in that stage, in prison. So yes, and here the with the headdress, the blue headdress, the acting here, and then this the shadow. So that the shadow. So kind of this the choreography have to really tight, and every just one steps mean a lot, just really because the actors they have to keep the shadow constantly, so they're not bound than each other. So because the actor sometimes is closer to the screen, and then the other one is part of the screen, so they're not hitting each other. It's about the fighting scene. When it's one of the fighting scene. It's all from the rehearsal. It's all the clip from it, so you can see the custom. Yeah. So how many nights we use this one? You remember that?
That's what
Yeah, we use a live musician. So here this downstairs, people play the music. So,
Okay, like the last one. Yes, thank you. Then you actually put this together, so.
yeah, thanks.
Okay, so
What's the last one?
that was the last one, so we can close this. And
Yeah.
I want to show somebody some real life stuff.
Yeah, so now there is we have some things to show there. So I think I want to show more the real live than in the video. Sometimes the video kind of what's going on because hard to see. But in here, so I'm gonna so maybe you can turn this somehow.
Yeah, how do you turn this thing on? shot, right? Point of the thing. Like people. Another one. Oh.
Maybe it's, can we first?
Computer's already off, it's the projector that's still on.
Okay,
Thank you.
yes.
All right.
Perfect. So if you see the actors doing the movement action, and I used the the mask is come really late because I want to make sure who's doing what, and then so I have to wait. This the last part I have to do it. Like for example, some character doing so they're gonna dance in the front, also in the back. I think so. I have to get the profile, and I have to make that profile. For example, it says this the profile of the eye colors. So the person who danced early is Diana. So I try to get her profile. This is her profile. So I have to look the shadow constantly. So the headdress, the mask have to bend here. So in this way, so I can put here, just landing in my chins. So when I'm doing this, you can see this profile and doing this. And so I have to constantly to look my profile. And I try to not double mask. So the reason we have to do this because we have to turn the heads, and then if there's only one action, it's not necessary to open the mask like this. So we just make only one mask. And for this one from the last production, and try to this is the monkey things. So we use a puppet. Sometimes we use puppet, sometimes we use the actor. Yeah, when we use actors, we have the same concept, the same idea. And then when we get puppet, so we try to make it the same character. So I have to paint them and carve. I carve use a chisel. So we went the same, we just double it, but in this case, I would show sometimes it's whole like this.
Oh, that works.
Yeah, so this put behind, it's not in front because I have to see my.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's come up with to make a bigger, we could make a puppets big like this, very hard to control, and also the motion is not very limited. So see, we use a light performance in the shadow, which will use mask. And so about scenery. So with this production, usually just work for backwards, like after the staging first, when we're going to use the shadow, when we're going to use the light performance. So I have to make sure, and from there, so I just make a composition, where to take a place. And then so here's some scenery. And so as first I just make it the ground, and then I ask the find the actors, how to move around, and then from there, and then okay, I just mark it. Okay, I can put the scenery here. If I just put it full, the shadows can clash with the actor. So that's why it's that way to make the space for the action. And yes, I mentioned earlier, I work like this, just steady here, and then to look what's happening there. And sometimes it's look really it's not interesting here, but very interesting over there. So it's more important is there than here. So I learned this is my from the past. I just make it very detailed, and then when I cast it, stories just shape it. So let's just. And so I don't know if you see here, just look different than here. And especially this one. And then, yeah, if the leaf here, I don't know if you see the shadow, it's not really interesting type of leaf of plant when you're farther to the light, it's more like real tree. And yeah, combined with the carvings here, we use a cardboard and even use some lace here, get some sense of motion. And if I paint this, it's not solid enough. Or if I let's say I paint this one, it's not dark, so that's why you have to use the cardboard. And yeah, so this bit like this is almost like completely full. In this scene, it's nothing in here, no action here. It's the action is in the front of the screen. It's like the background. So that's I have to figure out when we use it, the backgrounds, and when we can use it as a scenery for cinematography. So any questions in this room about something that you see?
I have questions. Thank you for showing us sort of the magic behind the performance. Are these techniques used in Bali? Like, did they create these, or is this Made Moja technique?
No, actually, I work with Shadow Puppet company, ShadowLight, production in San Francisco. Yeah, I learned from them. I work with them, and it's become like popular in Bali. They call wayang listrics. And wayangs mean puppet, listrik electricity, and it's just like the term for the modern type of shadow puppet.
So the style that you've learned in the US is now going back to Bali.
Yeah, it's a bit back to Bali.
Oh, I see.
It's more like a film type of feelings, like I said, it'll be like a live film.
Are the stories you perform familiar to the audience? Like, are they folk tales and stuff, or?
Yeah, we in here in United States, with my company San Francisco, the story from different background, from Native American story, from China, what call this yes, from many source. So right now the production that I'm doing in San Francisco space. So we share the dynamically interesting. That will be on next spring. Maybe if you have question for the cast, this is the cast from the last production.
I have another question, which is about the combination of using the puppets and then making the human like puppet, right? When you put the headdress on.
Mhm.
Is that also done in Bali, or in Bali? I mean, when I went to a wayang performance, it was very long time ago. So in Bali, so I don't know now.
It's like now they have something like this. It is not traditional way, but now it's become popular like I said, and kind of people really interested in learning new things, seeing some new things, like in Bali, always one which are creative with things, which are especially art forms.
Well, the reason I asked is I work in Cambodia where they have giant puppets, right? So they have the phone, which means big puppets.
Yeah.
I think it's like in Buffalo Higher puppet. So they have these giant puppets and people have to move them around. And so there's a dynamism because they're moving. But you always see the people who have to be very active and the puppet, which is static. And what you're doing is different. You're converting it so that you become the puppet, the human becomes the puppet. That's fascinating. Yeah, that's not, yeah, so it's a very new form. And you were the one who started this.
Oh, no, Larry Reed in San Francisco. So I wanted to take the company.
But I mean, in Balinese art and performance, you started.
Or I never perform actually in Bali. So Larry Reed grew up this production once in Bali. I think, if I'm not mistaken, 1979. Maybe I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. So he doing this production in Bali also.
And then now people in Bali make those headdresses and they do
Yeah,
that kind of
please.
performance.
So maybe Kathy, you have some word showing this production, how the process and what is challenge.
I think I find that after becoming a puppet is a really interesting, that was something that drew me to this, and I learned first learned about why I'm strict and why I'm fluent. And as a process, yeah, it's very much seeing what reads on the screen, what works, what doesn't work, and then having to change things, like the way that he was starting on the drawing. So it's the same with the performance too. Do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I think like in our culture, we don't really have an idea of a master artist. So that was something to get used to, that we're learning from these people that have a deep history experience in what we're doing. So like we have to default to them. And like Kathy said, just learning this new method where it's all based on how the puppets move. So you have to learn to move like a puppet and be looking at yourself and not looking at yourself. You know, you have to be like seeing what's going on. It's a lot to adjust to, but it's also very rewarding when you're nailing it. And the master artist is like, oh, actually, improving, right?
So do you start by training classical Balinese dance? Is that how you learn how to?
That was the opening procedure, is about a 4-month process, maybe 5. And we started as soon as we got cast, we were learning the choreography, and they were getting us used to how we should be holding ourselves and kind of building these like tiny muscles that you never use in your everyday life. Like, hold up your entire upper body in this very specific position. And so that was really important to the people putting on the show, is that we learned that first, and that is precise by the time we're opening.
So by the way, Kala was the king from the last season. Yes. So yeah, we trained the cast, you know, like we have an outside rehearsal, and then with how to dance, how to move, and how to imitate the movement as a puppet, so especially in the backstage.
And I think another cultural difference that we had to kind of figure out and incorporate was, like, for example, Kathy played a villager and I was a member of the royal family. So the way our characters interact with other characters and also held ourselves was very different. And we had to learn kind of those nuances. And some people were playing both types of roles, you know, so we had to learn.
But how do you learn that? Do you learn that by watching other recorded performances? Do you read about different traditions and like the registers that people used to speak to each other in Bali? How much of it is just corporealizing it, and how much of it?
Yeah.
And I would say primarily for, at least for the production aspect, is learning with the master artists. We had Moja, Made, and Haku. So like they all had their different ways of interacting, trying to fix things or tell us like different.
So if you have all 3 in the room and they're giving you different instructions, that would be amazing. But yeah, it did start primarily with them just giving us the moves, and we watched them do it, and then they say, okay, you try, and they fix things as we do it. It was,
They're physically holding.
yes, it's not watching anything, it's watching them physically in the space and then doing it as they do it.
Yeah, and also during the production, Kala not just dance, he's doing puppet as well. So like everybody like doing some things, you know, not just one role. Because in the backstage, you know, they need help. We're carrying puppet someday, so they just hold the puppet and they do the puppet. Beside the voice, sometimes if you hold puppet and somebody make a voice into somebody else, so you have to know how to move interactive, and it's kind of be interesting to make the voicing, not just you holding the puppet, somebody sometimes like, okay, make action, try to work together, something like that. And besides, we have used so many puppet the last productions. I don't remember.
It was over a hundred,
Something.
yeah, it's 121 or something.
100 something, yeah.
And it's just a puppet, also the scenery and then other stuff. So yeah, so this is like because we feel like the journey, the puppet, the puppet. The way I choreograph it, I have to think about that. What's gonna happen next, and what's gonna happen next, and what's left behind, because I have to use that body used for the next person too. For example, use last one doing something here. So this last one's over, it's gonna be like 2. So I have to think the last one going to like 3 to acting or to feel something. That's where you continue constantly. And yeah, especially if we have less cast, there's a more crowded, more what call it, the more speed in the back, just running around, just like very interesting. So yeah, during the production, when I'm doing it, when I'm doing the rehearsal, it's just so much fun doing it. But after the production, I just sitting there, just like sometimes I forget what the schedule is. Because I forgot already, because they know the role just by head. But when I'm sitting there, just like watching them, like I'm suddenly like, no, oh no, because so many layers, the responsibility, so many.
You mentioned that there's like instruments
Mhm.
playing. Is there also singing? And is that being done by the character or by someone else?
The musician singing, yeah, the musician, the thing. For that one, the actor is not singing, right? Just
They can't for the one.
yeah,
Yeah.
this chance too.
I would say that would be another level of communication between the singers and the actors. Line. I don't know if they'd be lining
I
up.
think the saying is kind of like just the background,
Okay.
voice.
So it's not part of the action
Yeah,
necessarily.
no, but I could do I think if you see Diana dancing by herself,
Mhm.
and then just empty background, I think just like chill background. Somebody singing behind it, just like the part of the music. So.
So you know how they were talking about how each like the roles had like different type of movement? Did all 120 of the puppets have their own like different type of movements they had to do too?
By the end, they put their knee, just like this jig puppet, this khaki puppet, because so many.
Yeah.
From this small puppet to this,
Oh.
yeah, it's a different. The puppet is different size. Even like this really tall. This make yeah, this is sometimes they just puppet. So that
Yeah, they're not all this type of puppet. Sometimes they're just like they might not have legs and arms that move, but it might just be.
yeah, I think it depends the
Yeah.
action, sometimes it's not so complex, it's like really cut out because look from distance.
So only some of the puppets are mirrored in people, right? Only, yeah, the main character.
The main character.
So the main characters will all have different movements. So those puppets are those characters, but not all 121.
Yeah, especially the main character who dancing in the front of the screen. So I have to continue getting about the profile.
Like we even had there was a boat, a boat scene, and so then we have one boat move and then another, because there was multiple lights. And then another light, the boat kept moving, but through the other light and then another, so that the boat would even be considered a puppet.
Yeah.
With 3 people in it. Yeah, with 3 people, yeah, with the 3 people in it.
3 people
Yeah.
holding 3 puppets, you mean?
Well, no,
boat
there's 3
prop is heavy.
characters in the one
Oh.
boat, yeah,
Yeah,
But we also have to be the water too.
or the
so,
water,
yeah.
or there were animals. Yeah.
And how about the music? So Vidana Vidana, does he compose the music and you just let him do whatever he wants?
Yeah, he's
Because he
composed the music and then, well, he had to know about the body of the story, the beginning, the end, and then the mood. And then so, the music, Balinese music, you cannot cut in the middle some things. And then if the music is a bit longer, so we have to add in with some movements and some action on the screen or something like that. So we cannot cut it in the middle. So you have to wait. And then so it's often a lot, with the theatrical, but can add more wood here because so the idea is so quiet. So this is always the process is just you cannot predict is what's gonna happen unless you have to try it many times.
But it sounds like to some extent you're writing it on stage. Once you learn the moves, then you have to create it
Yeah,
as you're on. So you couldn't just take a script and do it. You have to be on stage and then the musicians are watching the performers, right?
yeah. Yeah, the script is always changed,
Yeah.
Like I said, the timing sometime, so we don't want to get silent for a long time, so we have to try the moment where we have dialogues, where it's not. Sometimes the dialogue is simple because the shadow itself explain what's going on.
Yeah, I think the actual script is like 13 pages,
Yes.
or maybe
That's very
or 23, or I remember it's like in small, like, but the show is like really long.
The show is
Hour
an
and
hours.
Yeah. There's like a 20-page script, yeah.
As far as like dialogue.
For the performers, have you also performed in Western style performances?
Yes.
So how does the experience of preparation compare, right? Like in a Western style performance, you have to memorize all your lines, you block it out and you always do it the same way, right?
For me, the strong sense of community building, I guess, was a really big difference in the processes because we all had to make the show together. Like they were saying, everyone's moving constantly, changing screens, moving different puppets. We all have to be like, oh, where's villager 8? And you have to give it to them really quickly, you know what I mean? And so that was very unique to that process, was just all of us having to get on the same page, breathing together and just being like, all right, how do we make this happen? And that led to a lot of cohesiveness, I think, in the space. And just besides that, I feel like the Western style is a lot more individualized. Each actor is bringing their own talents.
Yeah.
And this is the same thing, but we're all working towards a common goal of incorporating it into something that is established. We know these art forms and that they already exist. So we're bringing ourselves to a form rather than creating a form within ourselves. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's how we get it.
Yeah, for this production scene, we included student, so they want to, at least they learn something, not just one thing, just acting, they have to do some puppet, even small part, but they visualize, they learn a lot from this process. This process about education as well, and also what's the performance.
Can I ask, Moja, if you were in Bali teaching, would you use the same teaching techniques?
Yeah.
So you just bring the same traditional techniques of teaching with you?
Yeah. So, yeah, like before we actually have some rehearsal, we have a class, shadow puppet class, how to move the puppet and how to control the puppet. And this is if you're not familiar with that, it's very tricky. Just how you have some connects the shadow, how to make the shadow alive, and then this is really very interesting process because student never used a puppet before. You said they're totally different feeling how working on puppet. Even like then also the body forms totally different. And besides, when you dance, I think it's more technique. When you dance, kind of 3D, right, the body. But when you're going back to the shadow, and then you have to see the profile. And then, you have to, when you dance like this, and then maybe in back the screen, you have to do this one. So you want to see the all of the profiles. So it's the same thing like you have to turn your heads.
Can you talk a little bit about like when you bring it to the schools, like what is the thing that the kids, school kids, appreciate the most or really relate to the best?
I think maybe you can help me later. Because I bring two things, one is instead of puppet and dance. And it's especially mass dance or everybody Balinese dance, they never see the Balinese dance. Balinese dance is the move is from hand, the eye, the feet, when you move your eyes, you're staring and the kid like what is the dancing doing? For example, if I'm doing this. And the kid like, what happening? And so you think about the hand movement, this is a lot of stuff they have to, I mean, always before I'm doing some dance, I told them I want you to make some observation what you see there, and then tell me this and that. So we had really good conversation with the kids and they just keep watching and then this is almost the entire kid has so much question about the dance, about the custom. And the other time we had mask, the same thing, mask like really scary sometimes for them. And to see just just staring at you, not doing nothing. But the way as I do it, just bring the mask and then the casually and show the kid and talk more before they get too surprised. It's scary. It's not scary sometimes.
Hyper focus on one thing. So you did, your whole dance, and we did the whole explanation. What it is, this was at our performance at Mililani on Tuesday. And at the very end, just did this whole presentation on dance, and they were like, so what's your costume made out of? So how many layers of costume are you wearing? So what is that bead made out of? Like all the questions were just about what he was wearing, like they'll hyper focus on something like that. But we also let them use the puppets and come up on stage and practice using voices with them. And for a lot of that, it's just telling them not to they all want to fight each other. Their first instinct is to take the puppets and have them battle each other. Which I mean, wouldn't that be everyone's first instinct? But showing them that the puppets can fight but not have to hit. Because the puppets, the shadows are hitting, but the puppets don't actually hit each other. That's fun for them to figure out.
Yeah, all of you are part of the outreach program. So she's teaching set of puppet with colors.
Yeah, we teach it.
What age kids are you usually talking to?
K through second.
Yeah, it's a different ages, K through seven.
Second.
Oh.
So 5 to 7. Yeah.
Yeah, that's but that's the shadow puppetry class we're doing at Poa. The outreach we're doing we did at Mililani was all third graders, but then last week we did Les Jardins, which was high school.
Oh, wow.
And then that was a senior high school class, I think. So that was totally different. And I think tomorrow we're doing one in the morning. It's 5th and 4th grade, and then right after that we do a presentation, the same one but for kindergartners. So it'll shift a little bit depending on the age group and their attention span.
Are the high schoolers still curious the way that the little kids are? Will they still ask questions, or are they a little bit more reserved?
I think more it's very hard for some of them, sometimes they participate, most of them they just
But the kindergarten, second
Yeah,
grade, they'll lock in, right?
Yeah.
The second
They're very.
graders stand up, they'll do the motions and everything, and the high schoolers are a little more reluctant to get up and make themselves look silly. There's always a couple class clowns that are like, I can do this, look at me go, And those kids actually get the other kids to come up and do it, which is always fun to see that happen. Everyone being so self-aware immediately, I'm too cool not to do it. And you get 2 or 3 kids that are really into it, and it gets everybody else involved.
For your outreach programs, do you guys ever showcase the backgrounds?
Usually the background, we not bring this, could just put something in the, let's say to put some lead and then then become a background. Sometimes we just use cardboard and make some kind of like let's plan, just like put in the front of the workers in the line. Yes, this is become the background also. You don't have to make so complex practice. And yeah, it's just make it really simple and more accessible for the kid and easy to make.
We just did a series of short shows that are like Jaga Alam, like the Jaga Alam project, and that's something that me and Fla and Pearson and Moja have been working on.
Oh yes,
Along with some other,
we never got that from.
we just finished doing a short 10-minute or 15-minute production.
It's good.
That's these credits are from.
It's all made from plastic.
Ah.
Yeah.
Then the baka.
And
So when you go to the schools, is it just like a one time, like a one assembly, one day? It's not a like residency for a week or anything like that?
It varies. We have several weeks, like 6 week long residencies, and we have like one big assembly performance and everything in between. Depends on what the school wants and can accommodate. So yeah, there's a big range.
Yeah, like our class at FOA is 6 weeks, but we keep extending it. So we did 6 weeks last semester, 6 weeks this time, and then we have another 6 week session coming up. But then Le Jardin was just a 15-person high school class, and then Mililani was like 100 plus third graders. So we just kind of cater it to whatever the school is interested in. So we do
yes, for puppet, this is from cardboard. This
You saw
from,
that show, right?
I did, it's hilarious.
and then,
You can all see it too.
and this is from recycle things. I don't know what's, I think like pineapple. This one.
Yeah, it was like a goodie bag.
Like.
Oh, that's good.
You want to see like dirty water. Plastic. This is part of the problem. It's trash. The trash. Even though we use real trash here.
The whole point was about environmental issues, right? So, recycled material. Yeah, you can come up and take a look at.
Yeah, you wanna come up?
But if it's whoever's here, if you want to come up and take a look at the helper, please play around with them.
Yeah, yeah.
Touch them, you can, like make your own shadow.
So
If
for
the
the
third graders couldn't break them.
Oh,
can you
So my question was, is if the little kids like got an opportunity to actually touch and make, you know.
That's
This
put
is
on
the
the
guy.
That's put on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's the main character.
That guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, oh, he's upside down?
Yeah,
this
he
is a fly.
flies.
Oh, what's
That's
the
the flying horses.
No, this is different.
More trash.
More trash.
Right, he flew around and they had to move him, right? And then he was, oh, there's the little guy.
No, I'm just curious, was it easier to act that out with your body or the puppet?
Yeah, it depends on the scene, but mostly I prefer doing it myself.
Oh, come on, please.
More like your own motion, right? Yeah.
No, come on.
Yeah.
I'll move out of the way here, please.
But
No,
I'm
no,
saying
you can
you're like,
touch that, I don't
the
mind.
whole body up like this.
I've heard of this was that, at that point, when he was flying, there were all the animals, right? But at some points when he was flying, there were no animals, and so the way they did that is the way they did that is they stuck them up and you didn't see them, so they were just. And so it was great, so that's what I did. See that, and then they did that, and then in another scene, they can do cemetery. And then at that point, then all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will cover if you
So
want.
you need to cut your body.
It's nice to meet you. I've actually heard you guys talk about your experience.
Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, right. Right. But when you do the performances at Kennedy Theater, then at that point, you're using rough edge, yeah?
Yeah, no.
No?
I use this one too.
Really?
Yeah,
That's a paper.
yeah,
Oh, wow.
I use this one.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it depends, but this one is like the last scene is not so much action. I use it kind of this paper like this is,
Oh,
easy
yeah,
to
yeah,
cut, and it also is, I'm not used that much, but with different puppet actors.
Oh, this is a
Or did somebody else
Yeah.
make that?
Oh,
Make
well,
We got to help make some of the simpler ones,
Yeah.
but Moja is
Yeah.
responsible. for
Yeah.
overloaded.
These are artists that are gonna make any song.
Yeah.
so like,
Do you hand carve the real fine details or do you
Yeah.
have a?
That's all. of it.
Yeah, look at this one, I just carved it.
So this one, you would have, oh, I see. So your head would be a little.
Well, I was thinking like, use a traditional puppet, but instead, like, like we did.
Yeah, they have a lot of essentials. And if we saw that, would you just put it on your head?
Yeah, I have to make sure, but everybody have different shape I have.
Yeah.
And so I have to
Like a-
cut it in certain way.
Oh.
So this one like,
Cut out some of those like these.
so I'm not gonna make a, if I use this one, maybe.
But it
If
has
not, my head will be done.
like.
So
it
how
might
I
have,
make
like,
sure
very
this-
small hat.
If I want to make sure this person is going to be this character, and then I cut it. If I'm not sure.
So you're saying this one. You just put it. Oh. I see. I think how that works, so it would be actually.
Yeah. I want to make sure who's going to go.
Yeah, and then you have to look at their head.
Yeah, the shape they have.
So do you sketch like for these really intricate ones, do you sketch them out? And then like do a stencil to carve it or like?
Yeah, with this one, this one. So this one, I think is a marker. I use a marker, or maybe pencil, this one, pencil, and then what is
No, friend.
The difference between Western, would be the job.
Oh, that's so.
Oh,
this one.
Oh, so is that one Japanese then? Because a lot of those.
That's so cool.
That's all the big, big. And you have like some other smaller scales that are not big.
All right, but they're not, are they ever made of, is that wood?
That's wood.
That's a different one, that's.
Yeah, this one, yeah.
So did you guys ever to do that?
not that.
Yes.
Teachers to introduce or follow through on like.
Sorry, Ariel, I don't know if you're having one. Watch the video.
Oh, yeah.
And then do the extra in front of it. Or that area. Or they- Sometimes.
And then recognizing like the angle of nose and the face type of curve.
Yeah.
Or like if it's just like the height. That sometimes somebody else will do the body culture. I think it's more-
Oh, I can you do that? They don't. I do
That
that.
was more my area.
Yeah.
No, it's fine.
And then like the top one.
Yeah.
I did the same.
Oh, you pulled the shadow.
Yeah, modified
The
it
shadows
just
kind of build.
really-
Oh, wow.
And
then you
got the shadows. what the other side is. Why
The-
all of the different parts
the-
that-
I was
Yeah.
grabbing
Why do they need to be colored?
or
Red.
What was the one that- So it's the
Right.
names of the-
At the same time. Right.
Right.
And then-
What is red?
Drinking for that.
Yeah, definitely.
That big puppet.
I just, you know, I was often. How much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We, now we only have two audience.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe we should just close. Yeah, we should actually say no.
Okay. Yes, so thank you all for coming. We're gonna
Thank you.
officially close the online version of the meeting because people are playing with puppets and I don't know how interesting that is. Sorry. But thank you for joining us online and anybody who's here in the room, please hang on and play with puppets. That's all the time. So thank you. And you can stop the
Sorry, I'll let you
recording, yeah.
leave.
And then if
You
you
have
could
to
tell
go
me how
to
many
that.
people were there and the names,
Sure.
that'd be great, because if some of my students were coming this way, I want to give them extra credit.
Oh, okay. There were. three of them.
Download, was there a response? I mean, did they, when you sign on to the Zoom and you.
Oh, yeah, we can see how many people.
Yeah, so I just
said-
need to know names. So that I have extra credit if they need.
Okay, there were three, so let me just stop.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Did they sign up on, they register?
they
on Zoom?
have to, yeah. they-
Yeah, that would be good, 'cause then that way you can keep track of